Don't disrespect the covering that's on your life. If God has blessed you, then make sure every time you get an opportunity, you show gratitude for the fact that God has blessed your life. God is our ultimate covering, but he gives us also at times earthly covering as well. While we might be able to observe, he does this so we can observe and hear and learn and experience the process of serving humanity in a way that brings him glory. He puts us in this posture, so we need the right attitude toward covering. Say that to somebody. Got to have the right attitude toward covering. Covering is not covering because it will not allow you to be hurt, upset, or frustrated. Covering is covering because it will not allow you to be destroyed. That's what covering is for, is to keep you from being destroyed. Paul wrote this, I was cast down, but I was not destroyed. It was a symbol that God has an opposite resolve for every negative attack that's on your life. When Paul wrote this in 2 Corinthians 4 and 8, he says, we are troubled on every side, but not distressed. We are perplexed, but not in despair. Persecuted, but not forsaken. Cast down, but not destroyed. Always bearing about in the body the dying of the Lord Jesus, that the life also of Jesus might be made manifest in our body. Troubled, perplexed, persecuted, and cast down, but not distressed, not in despair, not forsaken nor destroyed. God always has an opposite resolve to whatever issues challenge your very being. Because of this, our tests are often just a part of God's correcting process and this testing process for getting us to where we need to be next. Never let correction hurt your feelings for prolonged periods. Sometimes many of us are corrected and we mad at the fact that we got checked. But look at your neighbor and say, don't get mad when you get checked. If it's meant to help you, you ought to smile and say thank you. The fact is that you need to live beyond correction. Look at somebody and say, live beyond correction. After you get through, don't get so stuck that you focus on what hurt you, that you can't get over it, and embrace that which heals you. You see, we need to be intellectually covered. Here's a process here that when we talk about it, how you think, how you act, how you respond, how you will assimilate, how you gather in, how you take your stance is a part of understanding that needs to be a covering that's part of that process. It's important to be able to accept perspectives without always competing with the messenger. Sometimes God sends people to talk to you that you're not in agreement with. You don't have to compete with the messenger. If the message is for you, you better take the message and do what you have to do so you can become who and what you need to be. Understand here, I want your uniqueness to bless me. This is a position we take sometimes. I want your uniqueness to bless me, but I don't want your gifted differences to outshine me. Talk to somebody, say, don't make it personal. Don't make it personal. Now go on, grab one person by the hand and say, look at me, look at me. Now you have to now sometime maybe have some challenge just by looking at me and seeing my disposition and seeing my great character and seeing who I am. Go on, tell them, look at me again, look at me. All this greatness you see in me. So don't get hung up on what you see. Understand, I'm here to bless you. Go on, tell somebody, I'm here to make life better for you. And if you understand that I am a gift that's unapologetically persistent and continually in the process of knowing that God has set me up to be a blessing, I'm not going to be mad at showing you everything, Mother Wade, the pops that I have. I'm going to do everything I can do to be all I'm supposed to be. Tell your neighbor, don't get mad at the messenger. Just take the message and go on your way. That's what it's all about. Understand when you get the message, it's all about being covered. Somebody say, get covered, get covered. Here's the challenge here, because this is how familiarization sometimes weakens the connection between us. I don't doubt that God can, will, and has used you, but my independent nature will not allow me to give you the credit that you deserve. When I'm stuck on myself, sometimes I just cannot give you what I should give you. So I got to work with me. When you can't receive from others, it's like being gifted and put in a box. You have to be able to receive from everyone. Clarence Motley calls those who you will help volunteer victims. He says in this, he says, because you will ask sometimes them to help you, and they'll argue with you about the solutions you've given them. Sometimes you're trying to help people and they're not even ready to receive the help that you're trying to give them because they have their issues with the personality. They can't get over the present that's coming their way. Are y'all in the room with me? So if that just happens to be you, look at somebody and say, this is the last day for that for me. Every bit of covering that's coming my way, every opportunity that's coming my way, every door that's opening my way, I'm going to respect it. I'm going to stand there. I'm going to be a part of it because I know that it's not a mistake. Tell somebody it's not a mistake. God is sending blessing my way because he wants to make sure I am totally covered. That's our message. Somebody said totally covered, totally covered. Now, to understand this, and that when I say you have to be intellectually covered, I want you to understand that it's our obligation to accept God's revelation. Hear me. To accept God's revelation for the world around us, even if they're not ready for us yet. It's important because revelation is a divine thing. It filters itself throughout all of the tenets of our spiritual practices. Revelation, this ability to actually perceive. It's a process. It is the offspring of God's word or his divine communication into our open imagination, because imagination is the only part within our intellect that's great enough to hold what God pours in. That's why sometimes he has to put you to sleep so you can dream it, or put you in a trance so you can see it, because you can't see how to do it in your natural sense. And so he puts you in a posture where you can kind of see yourself somewhere, see yourself doing something, see yourself handling something that's far beyond, and it grabs you, and then all of a sudden it becomes part of the essence of who you are, and you start doing something with it. And so he drops it in on you so that it's like, look, with his interesting self. He drops it in on you so you can become who you would not be without him. Understand this. He says, now you got to search me if you want all of it. Because in Jeremiah 23, 29, and 13, he says, and you shall seek me and find me when you search for me with all of your heart. And so revelation attaches itself to all the parts of our spirituality. It's attached to prayer, discernment, knowledge, inspiration, our celebration, and our wisdom, our intuition, and understanding. Revelation is really the coherent part of answered prayer. It's a cousin to discernment. Revelation is the initiation of knowledge and the reason for inspiration. It's the drive behind celebration, and it is a mentee to wisdom. It is the offspring of intuition. At the same time, revelation is the proof of your understanding. Revelation puts you in a posture that if you really get a chance to understand where you are, you can see what you could not see until, have you ever read something and it just popped out of the page on you this time? I read this before, but it just didn't hit me like that. When revelation shows up, it introduces itself and speaks to you in confirming matters without your permission to let you know that this is attached to where you are and where you're about to go next. And once you have the revelation, all you need is a heart that is confident and a life orderly enough to be disciplined to carry it out. Don't run from any of this, because revelation makes sense in prayer, because prayer is comprehensible. It is a cousin to discernment because it finishes your primary thought. Revelation is the initiator of knowledge because it always introduces information and makes it worth seeking. At the same time, revelation is the reason for inspiration because it shows us what to get excited about. Shame on you if you don't know what to get excited about. And in the same instance, revelation is a mentee of wisdom because it's schooled by divine thought. It is the offspring of intuition because it removes a thought from being a hunch or a feeling and turns it into a spiritual awakening. When you get revelation, it turns and shifts the way you think and the way you respond, and shows you that there's something beyond what you initially considered. It's the offspring of intuition because it removes a thought from being a hunch and brings you into a great posture, but it is proof of understanding because it allows us to turn a thought or idea into something that is tangible. And when we get it, we understand, we then need God to help us be intellectually covered. Anybody thank God for your mind? When is the last time you thank God for your mind? The old folk used to say it like this: I woke up this morning with my mind stayed on Jesus. He said, I will keep them in perfect peace who keeps their mind. Listen here, I'm glad to have a right mind. I'm glad to be able to think it, to see it, to believe it, to step in it, to know that it's possible. I'm glad to be in my right mind. Somebody ought to thank God for being in your right mind right now. God covers your mind, but also God covers us emotionally. Speak to your neighbor and say, you need to be emotionally covered. Come on. Remember, totally covered here. When we cannot accept being corrected, this is difficult for us. Embarrassment will keep us from becoming totally healed. Let me say that to you again. When we cannot accept being rightly corrected, embarrassment will keep us from becoming, what did I say? Totally healed. Know this, that prolonged personal embarrassment is the evidence that we do not trust the restoration process and power of our covering. Not only that, but we also do not trust the grace of that covering to preserve and forgive us and return us back to the state we're supposed to be in. It's important that we trust God with our emotions as well. That we say, listen here, I'm all over the place, but God, get me together. I wonder if there's anybody here, you ever needed God to get you back together. You ran into some stuff, I don't know how I'm going to handle this. God, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know how it's going to happen. But God can put it back together. I need some witnesses in the room who can testify. God can put you right back together again. Situations can try to tear you apart, and hope can sometimes try to flee and get away from you. But just a flicker of it has enough power inside of it to ignite your faith and give you an opportunity to say, my belief, my trust, and my reliance is going to help me be persuaded to stick this out until I get to the very end of this. And at the end of this, things are going to be better for me. Would somebody here help me and speak that to somebody? It is going to be better for you. Go on, tell them.